Hey, Mitch, it's always good to see you again. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. And I wanted to talk to you about something that's going on that's really dynamic, fun, and exciting, at least for me. And I'm going to get really excited today because we are partners. We are actually
Mhm.
co-authoring a book. It doesn't have a
Yep.
title yet, but it has a lot of content because I know I spent the last month or two kind of writing it. And so now it's in your hands. But I wanted to talk to you about a part of the book, and I've actually kind of shared it with the world because it's on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. And it began with a conversation or pieces of conversations that we've kind of had for, I would almost say 2 years now. We've
Oh,
we've been
wow.
kind of,
Yep.
yeah, we've been kind of talking
Yep.
and building up a friendship and building up a lot of things. And I always say when I'm in conversation with you, I need to record all of them because I find so much value and,
Yeah.
just pearls of wisdom, gold nuggets of wisdom, whatever you want to call it, because there's just pieces of it I could just extract and abstract, and it's
Yeah.
just good. And so I hope that my listeners, our listeners, really get to share in that value as well. But the story that I wrote, and it was my second newsletter on LinkedIn. So I actually have the Question Guy. It's a podcast. Now it's also the Question Guy newsletter on LinkedIn. And I wrote a vignette, kind of like a story on how the master
Mhm.
recruiter, how
Mhm.
you actually go about recruiting people. And
Mhm.
the story goes something like this. I'm visiting you in your hometown, and this is all hypothetical, but you talk to me and say, hey, I need to hire two people for my used bookstore. And I said, okay, well, how are you going to do that? You're going to put an ad in the paper, and you kind of shoot that down. It's probably not the best way. It says, come with me. You say, come with me. So where are we going? Well, we're going to go to Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble. It's Saturday morning, and so I give you every reason to think that, Mitch, what in the world are you doing?
Right.
And basically, all you say is trust me. And so,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll trust you. I got nothing else. I can't lose here. So you're the master at this, and so I trust you. And so we go to Barnes and Noble, and we get some coffee, and then and you've got this backpack, and so you pull these all these magical items out of your backpack, cardstock and note paper and pens, and then you create this little sign on this table that says, want a job? I forget how it goes. He's like books, like to read books, want a job, selling books. Let's have a conversation, right? And so this is the basic premise of the master recruiter, the master leader.
Mm-hmm.
Again, don't get crazy with my words here, but and in that situation, hypothetical as it is, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
far away from the truth,
Right.
you
Right.
find two people that you would want to hire. So in
Yep.
conversations with them, you would want to hire. And I was hoping that in our time together right now, you could kind of share some of that wisdom
Mm-hmm.
because I really left that part out. It was really about
Mm-hmm.
you just having conversations, asking some basic questions that any HR or hiring manager would, but
Yeah.
then you're looking for something a bit more. You're looking for intuition,
Mm-hmm.
motivation,
Mm-hmm.
intruistic skills,
Mm-hmm.
and you're looking for them at the time of the interview. They didn't
Right.
even fill out an application. They didn't give you a resume. They're not giving you their background.
Right.
So that's a lot of an intro to say, when you're having those kind of conversations with people,
Mm-hmm.
what are you looking for?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
how do you know when you found it?
Yeah. Great question. Um, this is really intriguing that you're asking these questions because first of all, that is how the conversation goes, and you did such a great job creating that story because of the conversations we've had, and you for the most part hit the nail on the head. I mean, even up to my backpack and post-it notes, and you've never
And
seen my
then you've never
backpack, but
mentioned that. And I'm just
that
thinking,
is the stuff that I tend to be a pen freak, so and paper and notebooks and anyway. It's interesting you're bringing this up because over the next few months, I want to tell your listeners, don't be surprised when you see more of my brand and company pushing exactly what you're saying. You're going to see a much larger footprint begin rising, a greater awareness to begin taking place from Mitch Gray's teachings and Mitch Gray Media and our company and how to hire and keep great people. And that's a strategic, kind of our next level for marketing and sales is there is a magic button to finding great people. There really is, but hardly anyone's using it.
Oh.
And so really that's the question you're asking is, what is the magic button? How do you find it? And then how do you use it? It's like that, what was that company Staples, that they have the easy button,
The easy button.
and really in my experience over the last 25 years, I was fortunate enough to learn from a few companies in particular, a few leaders in particular. And then what's interesting is, my style of recruiting that I took from others, but I also took from my preaching days.
Well, and again, lots of this comes from your book, but the only two things that you really you mentioned a good thing about your book, how you really, how you learned how to find good people, great people. And that's from your first job, your early 20s, and you're managing this fashion retail. But later on in the book, you tell about a very heartbreaking situation, which I also talk about. I reference it in our new book, but you were fired from pastor's position.
And we may not get there so much today. What I really took from my pastoring days regarding recruiting is, back in the and still in the church industry, in the religious industry, they have what they call discipleship, and they do what they call converting people. And really what you're doing in those two things is you're recruiting people to your belief system, and then you're selling them on the belief system. And without getting into the weeds of religion, when you strip down the cause of what they're doing, it's pretty mesmerizing when you look at, evangelical Christian denominations, when you look at Mormonism, when you look at other faith systems. It's pretty mesmerizing when you again remove the religiosity and just look at what they're doing, and you see, the Mormon faith people riding their bikes in thousands and thousands of towns across the world.
Right.
You see evangelical Christians as families and communities going out and still knocking doors, to pray for people or to offer encouragement. And again, I'm not bringing this up because of the religious effect, but strip all that down. And what I'm saying is, when I took my experience of what I learned and the story you just told about being early 20s, running a multi-million-dollar store, trying to figure out what the heck I was doing. And then I also applied the principles that it took as a pastor in an evangelical Christian environment where your sole mission was to recruit and convert people.
Right.
I then sat back and went, okay, so what is the best way to get the best people around you? Well, the best way is to just flip and ask. Like, it's literally as simple as that. If you're in the faith world, what's the best way to tell someone about your God? It's to ask, do you know God? If you're in retail and you're building a team, what's the best way to build a team? It's to go to the bookstore and be like, do you like books? Do you like like, it's so simple that we've missed the boat. And that is the magic button. The magic button is to go, I need people. I need great people. Go where great people exist and simply ask the question. Are you interested in another opportunity? If not, no big deal. I'm still going to come buy coffee from you. But if you are, I've got an all-star team and a great environment and an empowering culture that you might just fit right into. And so I shared that with someone a couple of months ago, an actual owner of a business. And she was like, Mitch, that takes a lot of courage. And I'm like, does it?
Yeah, it does.
But does it? On the surface, people think it does because they've never done it. It doesn't take courage, it takes repetition. And so my reversal became, does it take courage for you to ask someone at a store if this is on sale or not? Does it take courage for you to ask the waiter at a restaurant if they serve ranch or if they only have vinaigrette? Does it take courage at Starbucks when you order a coffee to ask them for extra foam?
No.
And so yeah, that's right. So when you begin stripping all this down, it's like all you're doing is asking, Keith, would you like some water? Hey, by the way, are you looking for an opportunity? Like it's quiet. I know I make it sound so simple, but I make it sound so simple because I want people to understand it really is that simple once you practice. But Keith, here's the reason it takes courage, because I understand why people say that. There's two reasons it takes courage. Number one, they don't know who the heck they're looking for. And so when you don't have clarity, no, it's not.
That's not a good thing.
That's why it takes courage. When you don't have clarity on what you need, why you need them, and where they exist, then it takes courage because you don't know what you're selling. It's an arbitrary idea that you're trying to sell. Yes, then it takes courage. But if I know who I need, why I need them, and what type of people I want to build my team from, then it no longer takes courage. It simply takes identification and asking a question. Then through repetition, it becomes no different than saying, hey, I'd love some extra foam on my latte, please. Whatever. It's no different than that. The other reason it takes courage is because of insecurity. And insecurity always stems from lack of knowledge. Insecurity stems from not knowing. And so they don't know who they need, why they need them, what in the world they're selling. So then they're insecure about bringing it up. And so let's take this even further. And this is where I push the envelope with people. It's a whole lot easier for me to get on Indeed, Facebook, Glassdoor, Monster, and put up an arbitrary ad than it is for me to actually learn how to connect with other human beings and identify the people I need for my team. It's a whole lot easier to do it virtually. It's a whole lot easier to hit send, to send that email, to get my assistant to do it. It takes a little bit more effort for me to actually bring the human element back in. But the reality, yes, go.
Well, I was going to ask you a question, but I didn't want to interrupt your thought. Because earlier you said, well, because it's difficult, it's challenging, because we don't know who we're looking, like a boss, a manager wouldn't know who they're looking for. It's kind of what you said. So that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly what I'm saying.
It doesn't make any sense to me, because you have tasks. A business has things that need to get done. And so you could departmentalize that all you want. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of tasks that somebody needs to do. And you need to hire somebody to do it. So can't you just say, these are the tasks that need to be done, and put somebody in there? Or did I miss something?
You could, but you're probably going to get it wrong most of the time.
Well, did I miss something?
Yeah, here's how you hire people. Here's what we're going to do at the bookstore that we go to.
Okay.
Before we
Because
ever go to the,
you're looking for a sales rep. That was the situation, and you did, and you found two potentials.
Before we ever go out, we're going to identify what type of energy do we want this person to bring to the workplace.
I need to write this down.
What type of integrity? What type of integrity do we want our people to have? What type of personalities already exist on our team, and what type of personalities are we missing? What type of work ethic do we want? How relatable do we want this person to be? Do we already have a ton of extroverts and we need some introverts to kind of balance out the scales here? You could even go as far as gender. Are we overweight on the masculine presence on our team? Do we need to balance that out? Do we have a team of 20 and 19 of them are white men? Then we have an issue. Notice I'm asking all these questions and I haven't even touched skills, qualifications.
Yeah, because I was about to say, you're actually looking for a person. This is going to sound weird.
That's right.
You're actually exactly looking for a person, and not a box full of skill sets.
Here's the trick.
Did I get that right?
You're exactly right. And that leads to the trick. Here's the pearl of wisdom you alluded to earlier. If people don't take anything else from this podcast, take this, it'll change everything. shove the qualification skills and talents to the side for now. Don't even worry about those.
Okay.
If you don't hire based on the humanity of a person and only hire based on the skills, qualifications, and talents, you're going to get lucky at best when you find someone that fits. But most of the time, you're going to feed the turnstile that everyone is experiencing. You are far better off taking the money that you're spending on the turnstile and hiring a graphic designer who has no graphic design skills, but has all the intangibles, and spending $3,000 to send them to graphic design school. Because if you invest in that person, the data tells us they're going to stay, they're going to create a higher turn on their revenue, and they're going to give you greater performance because they know you care about them. It costs the average small business $4,000 to onboard, and most people are spending an average of $40,000 to $50,000 every 2 years in turnover for one position. That's not even a higher position.
You know, if anybody hears this that's got the money, they're going to say, Mitch, put your money where your mouth is.
Let's do it. I'm totally
'Cause
game.
I could just hear it in my head. So
Yep.
show me.
Yep, it works. And the reason I believe in it so much is twofold. Number one, I've done it. When you alluded to my story in my early 20s, this is the exact method I used to totally change my team. It's the exact method that hundreds of other leaders have used over the years, even use it today to really build, find amazing teams. So I've done it. The other thing I know is I've taught others to do it. I've got a client right now that we're doing this exact same team. And I talked to the owner. It's a 2-location in the company and in the restaurant industry. And one of their locations, I did exactly what your story did. I just told them, I said, hey, I'm going to commit to a high level on this. And I don't usually do this. So I'm going to commit to a high level because I want to see you succeed. So they hired a new general manager. I spent 3 days with them.
And we went out,
we walked the streets, we recruited, we interviewed over 20 people. I taught her everything I could possibly teach her. It's like a 3-day boot camp. And I would do that for someone for the right amount of money. We'll do that all day long, but it was a 3-day boot camp. We're a month into it. They've turned over their team by 90%. They're setting up a leadership development program within their team to raise people up. I talked to the owner last week, and the owner was like, man, I was over there every day at that location because it was sinking. I haven't had to be over there in 2.5 weeks. I probably won't have to be over there for another month. Wow. And that's what owners and leaders want. They want their teams to run autonomously. That's why people get into entrepreneurship, not to be a slave to the stress and the anxiety and the frustration. But the problem is you can have all the money in the world to buy all the businesses in the world, but that doesn't mean you know a hill of beans about building a team. In fact, I would argue most people don't know how to build a true team. And all it takes is stripping it back to its most simplistic form. And the most simplistic form is, what type of people do we want? What kind of energy do we want? What kind of attitude? And as Zig Ziglar talked about 40 years ago, aptitude, your aptitude dictates your attitude. What type of presence do we want them to have? What type of work ethic? What type of personality? What type of, and on and on and on. And you create that perfect team member persona that has nothing to do with skills, qualifications, and talents. Now, all of a sudden, you can go, okay, so we do need a graphic designer. Where do the best graphic designers hang out? Let's go find them. And now you know where to go. And I kind of bashed on, the third-party sites a while ago, and I do my book a little bit as well. I know that's the reality people are at, but I can promise you this. You will have far greater success using third-party agencies if you have clarity on who you need from a human level. If you don't have clarity on who you need with those human attributes, then you're better off going to the local gas station and spending $100 every day and gambling and hoping for the best, because that's the game you're playing. Most organizations are functioning from a principle of recruiting based on gambling. They have no strategy. And if they have strategy, it's, we send it into Indeed and Glassdoor. We'll find somebody. They'll do the work for us. Guess what Indeed and Glassdoor don't know? The attributes you're looking for. Because their algorithms are based on skill sets, qualifications, and talent, not humanity. And I would argue until I'm blue in the face, if you're running a team of 50 or less, you can handpick every single person on your team. No ifs, ands, or buts, because you can train your best people to do the same. And you can train your best clients to do the same. And so if you've got all your clients, all your friends, all your family, and all your best performers recruiting, you don't have to do it all yourself. You don't need to do it all yourself, but you've got to start by identifying who's our perfect team member. You know how to do it with marketing. Use the same ploy with building the perfect teammate. And if you do that, and then let the tangibles fall into place, the skill sets, qualifications, talents, I promise you, you'll drop so many headaches and anxiety and stress. You'll want to pay me more money because it will simply work and your life will be so much better. I had the worst thing happen to me 2 months ago that a consultant can have happen to them.
Uh-oh.
And that is have a past client come back to you and go, you didn't charge me enough.
Oh.
And I had that happen to me. They said, you didn't charge me near enough. I'm like, well, that's my fault. I mean, it's me. But that's how real this stuff is. And
Right.
that's why I truly believe, and throughout the book, my strong foundation of the book is everything is based on human behavior. In fact, a funny story, the client I was telling you a minute ago, the general manager
Of the restaurant?
they have a sister who is a clinical behavioral therapist.
Right.
And the general manager was telling their sister about the work I was doing with them. And the clinical behavioral therapist goes, all he's doing is human behavior therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's exactly right. Because if you strip everything down just to the humanity, it's all the same. We're all the same. We all desire the same. And so what we're doing to build a great team is we're finding and identifying that commonality, surrounding ourselves with the best people possible, then teaching them how to do the job. Because guess what, Keith? Great people are smart.
Well, you happen to
They're
mention
smart.
that too. You mentioned that in the book.
Yeah, they're smart. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I like that because I actually in our new book in how to hire and keep great people part 2.
Yeah, whatever it's going to be called.
Or
Right.
whatever it's going to be called. I actually talk about, or I reference that and just saying that it's just like, throwing a hook with a worm in a very large ocean.
Yeah.
And
And
you don't
hoping
know
for the best.
you don't know what fish is going to swim by and grab it, if any fish at all. And so, unless you go into the, dive into the ocean yourself and go look for the fish that you want. No, I'm not going to do any,
Yeah,
any
scuba
great
diving.
novels here, but
Well, I love that analogy because I love fishing. I love fly fishing, and it's very. And I use that analogy a lot. When you're learning to fly fish, years ago when I first taught my son, the first couple of times we went, it was just helping him cast, just get it into
Right.
the water. If you get lucky, you get lucky, and that's how I felt as a beginning manager. I'm hiring everybody I can hire, and then I'll figure out what I need. But now, as a veteran fly fisherman, it's like, no, we're going to look for the shadows. We're going to look at the weather. What's the rise of the water at? When's, is this the new snow melt? Is the water too cold? What flies have hatched? I mean, it's all this, and I'm just a hobbyist. But when I have friends that are like real wranglers of fisher, I mean, they really understand that stuff, and it's a science. And that's all I'm doing is I'm introducing the science of humanity to the hiring process. And when you can learn that, you're going to hit on 90% of the people you hire. And I firmly, without any doubt, believe that your threshold can be 80 to 90% of the people you hire will stick around for a very long time and perform at really high levels.
So with that being said, now I'm just kind of excited about getting your word out there. How are you getting your word out there, and exactly who you're reaching out to say, hey, this works, and I could show you.
Yeah. So, I mean, a few things, lots of podcasts, reaching into different audiences, obviously the book. We do have the How to Hire and Keep Great People curriculum. And part of what I started this conversation with our next level of marketing is really the next step in getting the word out there.
Okay.
I've partnered with some experts. I'm not a marketing expert, but I've partnered with some marketing experts. And over the next month, people are going to see probably even see a little bit of a change in my LinkedIn approach, a little bit of a change in how I'm kind of verbalizing things, because I'm letting the marketing experts do what they do best. And that's help me become a magnet to where I start drawing those people that we're talking about to our consultancy. And then speaking, my goal next year is to do 100 speaking gigs.
Next year, 2023, or next year,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
rest of this year?
I guess you could say a year and a half. The challenge of speaking gigs is people are right now booking for 2023.
Right.
And we're six. So 2023, my goal is 100 speaking gigs.
Okay.
And so if anyone's listening to this and they have an event that they lead or anything, that'd be great, because that's just a great way to get the word out to the masses and to have these types of conversations. I always say I try and focus on the humanity of all of this. Well, the best part of that humanity is face to face, in person, and thank goodness we're getting back to that, because we all missed that. And for people like me that were speakers, gosh, I mean, you lose out on a lot of opportunity the last 3 years, and so it's really about building. I mean, I have friends that are speakers at the highest levels possible, and they're still just kind of now getting traction back, because it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So we're all being creative. But yeah, if anyone listens to this and leads a business or is a hiring person and they want more information, you look me up on LinkedIn, or my email's mitch@mitchgraymedia.com. Shoot me an email and let's chat and see, if we can help you some way. So
sounds good. Mitch Gray, thank you
and
so
then the
much.
new book we're working on.
Whoa. And then the new book.
That'll be out hopefully by September. We're shooting for it. So
we're shooting for September. Okay, that sounds good. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks, Keith.
Hey, Mitch Gray, thanks again so much for being on the Question Guide podcast. And of course, you could find me on LinkedIn, on Spotify, Anchor, and we're doing some really great things here. So have fun and take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.